Hello, my friend. I'm glad you're here. While this video plays, my hands are busy with two small winter angels, shaping their noses, straightening tiny woolen wings, finding just the right color for their scarves. And while they slowly appear, layer after layer, I'd like to tell you who they are, so you can keep them company for a little while. And maybe, quietly, they can keep you company too. There is a place where the town ends and the fields begin. In summer, it's just a low stone ridge, half swallowed by grass and clover. Children run over it without even noticing. Dogs leave paw prints there. People sit for a moment, check their phones, and walk on. But in winter, when snow has settled and the air becomes very, very still, that same ridge turns into something else. It becomes a balcony over the season. Snow piles on its back in soft waves. The world below grows quieter, as if listening. And every once in a while, when the sky is pale and the clouds hang low, you can find two small figures sitting there, side by side. They look like children at first glance. A girl with hair the color of early sunrise on frost, hints of lilac, blue, and soft gold. A boy with copper-bright hair that seems to have remembered what fire feels like. Both wear winter-layered sweaters, wrapped up to the chin in scarves the color of warm bread. On their backs, woolen wings, stitched and speckled, not quite neat, but very stubborn. On their feet, boots that never quite dry. In their hands, light. The girl holds a snowflake, not carved, not metal, but a shard of frozen sky shaped into 6 perfect points. It glows from inside with a quiet, cold rainbow. The boy holds a heart, also made of ice, but thick and clear, like the surface of a frozen lake when the moon is full. Inside it, faintly, something beats. Their names are Sylvi and Rowan, and they are winter angels. Not the grand kind that appear in paintings with trumpets and golden clouds. These are smaller, closer to the ground. Their wings get tangled in branches. Their scarves pick up burrs. Sometimes Rowan trips over his own boots. Sometimes Sylvi laughs so hard that her halo slips behind one ear and stays there for days. But the winter listens to them, because their task is simple and very difficult at the same time. They take care of the unfinished winters. Most winters arrive with a kind of confidence. Snow knows where to fall. Ice knows which puddles it wants. People pull out boxes of scarves and lights and old traditions. The cold settles in like a guest that everyone expected. But sometimes the season hesitates. It comes in patches. 3 days of snow, then rain, then ice that melts into gray slush. The air feels tired rather than sharp. People move through it distracted, as if winter is something on their to-do list that they keep pushing to tomorrow. When that happens, the north wind lifts a corner of the sky and calls for help. On the evening our story begins, Sylvi and Rowan were already sitting on their stone ridge, swinging their legs and dangling their crystals over the drop. Down below, the town lights were flickering on one by one, small squares of yellow in the blue. "Do you feel it?" Sylvi asked. She held her snowflake up to the sky. Usually, it caught starlight easily, like a net. Tonight, the light slipped away from it, thin and uncertain. Rowan frowned and pressed his thumb against the ice heart in his hand. It should have pulsed with soft warmth, full of songs and whispers and half-spoken wishes from the houses below. Instead, the beat inside it felt faint, like someone trying not to cry too loudly.
"It's late," Rowan said. "Winter should be deeper by now." The wind at their backs nodded. At least, it moved in a way that felt like a nod. "Something down there is stuck," the wind said. "The snow is falling, but the season isn't landing. People are saving their warmth for later, as if later is a safer place." "And later never comes," Sylvie murmured. "It comes, but by then they are too tired to notice." The two angels looked at each other. They'd seen winters like this before, the kind with no real beginning, only a long middle of gray days and postponed joys. "Is this our winter tonight?" Rowan asked. "If you're willing," said the wind. Sylvie tucked her snowflake close to her chest. Rowan checked the knot that tied his heart crystal to his wrist. "Then we're willing," they answered together.
If you had been standing on the path that evening, you might have seen it. Two small shapes sliding down the snow-soft back of the stone ridge. Not quite footprints, not quite sled tracks, just a suggestion of movement, like something deciding to exist. Sylvie went first. She was lighter and quick, leaving behind a line of small, precise prints. Wherever her boots touched the snow, a faint shimmer remained, as if each step were a question asked politely. Rowan followed, less graceful but determined. He half slid, half stumbled, holding the ice heart with both hands. As he passed, the cold in the air shifted from sharp to almost pleasant, like the moment when you come in from outside and your cheeks are burning, but you're already smelling tea. They reached the first houses just as the street lights hummed themselves awake. This town could have been any town. The houses weren't grand. Their windows held plants and paper stars, laundry lines and forgotten mugs. Cars slept under thin blankets of snow. There was a tiny shop at the corner where someone had tried to arrange a festive display, but had given up halfway. A park bench, dusted with frost, waited patiently for spring. The winter here looked ordinary, but the angels felt the hollowness underneath, like a song played too quietly to fill the room. "Where do we start?" Rowan asked. Sylvie pointed at the crystals in their hands. "You with the hearts," she said. "Me with the light." Sylvie loved windows. They were like eyes, she always said, sometimes open, sometimes shuttered, sometimes pretending to be fine while the curtains shook. She climbed onto the first windowsill easily, wings brushing the glass. From inside came the blue glow of a late cartoon and the smell of instant soup. A child was lying on the couch, chin propped on their fists, watching a snowman wobble across the screen. The snow outside this window was perfect, but the child's face had that particular flatness of someone whose thoughts are somewhere else entirely. Sylvie held up her snowflake. Inside it, tiny reflections stirred, past winters, bright and heavy, full of running and building and laughing. Gone too quickly, left unvisited. "Here," she whispered. She breathed onto the glass. Her breath didn't fog it, it cleared it instead, wiping away an invisible film of tiredness. For just a second, the child blinked, sat up, and looked past the screen to the window. They saw only snow and streetlight, of course, but something tugged gently at their sleeve. A A few minutes later, the television noise stopped. A voice from the kitchen answered, "Fine, but put on your boots properly this time." The front door opened, feet thumped down the stairs. The snow outside, which had been quietly existing, suddenly had a companion, the child's footprints, messy and joyful. Sylvie smiled. Her snowflake brightened, one small ray stronger. That was her way. She moved from window to window across the town. At one, she watched a woman scrolling through messages, her face pinched with worry. The woman's tea had gone cold. Sylvie let a few bright points of past laughter fall through the snowflake and into the room. The woman's shoulders dropped just a little. She put the phone down and reached for the old pencil jar on her desk. The sketch she began was clumsy, but her eyes softened. At another window, a teenage boy sat in darkness, headphones on, staring at the ceiling as if it had personally disappointed him. Sylvie tapped the glass with the edge of her snowflake. The light from his phone caught the crystal, splitting into colors that slid across his wallpaper. He frowned, then got up and pushed the curtain aside. The sky outside was a deep, indifferent blue, but for 3 heartbeats, a streak of light slid behind the clouds, like someone dragging a silver thread. He didn't know it, but that was Sylvie's doing. Later that night, he would find himself opening an old notebook and writing one line, then another, then another. Sylvie never left instructions. She simply nudged the winter closer to wonder and trusted people to do the rest. With each window she visited, her snowflake grew heavier, not with ice, but with small stored moments. A piano key finally pressed after weeks of silence, a letter written and placed on the table, a plant watered instead of ignored. Winter around her thickened, not in temperature, but in meaning. Sylvie didn't walk straight back to the hill. Her boots knew the way, of course. Up the road, past the frozen fountain, through the last line of houses, but something in her shoulders said, "Not yet." The light in her crystal was still humming, like a note that hadn't finished ringing. At the end of a narrow street, she stepped into a small square, the kind town planners draw almost absent-mindedly. One crooked bench, one lopsided lamppost, a tree with more memories than leaves. Tonight, the snow lay flat and undisturbed, except for a set of fresh footprints cutting straight through the middle. Not heavy human steps, soft, careful ones. Rowan was already there. He sat on the back of the bench, knees drawn up, wings folded tight against the cold. His scarf had collected a few stray snowflakes. His orange hair was even wilder than usual, as if the wind had been arguing with it and lost. In his hand, the heart-shaped crystal glowed very faintly, pulsing like a sleepy animal. "You went far," he said, without turning. His breath smoked the air in front of him. "So did you," Sylvie answered, climbing up to sit beside him. The bench creaked, surprised by such light visitors. For a moment, they just listened to the quiet. The town around them was wrapped, windows dimming one by one, a distant train sighing somewhere beyond the river, the low crackle frost settling deeper into bark and stone. Above, the sky had cleared into a pale bowl of stars. "How many winters?" Rowan asked. Sylvie curled her fingers around the snowflake crystal, letting it spin once on its thread. "I lost count," she admitted. "Not in numbers, in kinds." Rowan nodded. "Me too." He held out his hand so she could see. Inside the heart, a faint threadwork of light had appeared since they last compared. Lines, loops, tiny knots, like a map drawn by someone who loved labyrinths.
Sylvie leaned closer. "That one," she said, pointing with the tip of one mitten, "is from the woman on the stairs, the one who thought she was trouble." Rowan smiled, tired but pleased. "Yes, and that loop there is from the man at the bus stop who didn't know where home was anymore." Sylvie turned her own crystal to him.
The snowflake had changed as well. Some facets now held tiny colors, not loud but stubborn. A warm kitchen yellow here, a small bookshop green there, the silver of a cat's whisker, the blue-gray of a street just before dawn. "That corner is from the girl who opened the window to smell the cold," she said. "And there, that's the old woman who stopped washing the same plate twice." They sat, trading such fragments for a while, as if swapping postcards. Not every story was heavy. Some were almost silly. A boy deciding that hot chocolate counted as dinner, a baker finally throwing away the recipe for a cake no one ever ordered, a child who had been saving a sticker for the right moment and, tonight, finally used it. "Do you think they'll remember?" Sylvie asked eventually. "Any of it?" "Some will, some won't, but their winters will know." He slid down from the bench into the snow and held out a hand. "Come," he said, "there's something I want to show you." They walked side by side through a part of town neither of them had visited yet. It was not the quiet ring of houses with lace curtains and potted plants. This was the in-between fringe: small warehouses, a shuttered kiosk, a row of garages with numbers half peeled from their doors. Despite the hour, a dull fluorescent light buzzed in one narrow building with high windows. Inside, a lone figure sat at a table covered in papers, shoulders rounded, pen moving in slow, tired lines. "Why here?" Sylvie whispered. Rowan raised the heart crystal. "Because not all winters happen at home," he said. He slept closer until the glass between them filmed over with his breath. The person inside rubbed their forehead, stared at a half-finished form, then at a framed picture propped against a mug. It showed two people laughing in a field somewhere very unlike this room. Sleeves rolled up, grass to their knees, a dog mid-bounce between them. Rowan pressed his hand, heart crystal and all, gently to the glass. "Remember," he breathed, "this counts too." The fluorescent light flickered. For a moment, the person inside blinked hard, put down their pen, and reached for the picture instead. The paperwork stayed unfinished. The world did not collapse. Something new stitched itself into the glowing map inside the crystal. A small, stubborn line leading away from obligation and back towards something like joy. "Your turn," Rowan murmured. He led Sylvie further on to the edge of an empty playground. The swings were frozen in half arcs. The slide wore a thin polish of ice. On the far bench, under 3 layers of coats and a hat with pom-poms, a teenager sat staring at their phone, thumbs still, expression distant. They've stopped. Not doing, not deciding, just buffering. "Exactly," Rowan replied. "Good place for you." He slept back, letting her go ahead. Sylvie approached the bench, her boots leaving no mark. She tilted her head, considering the angle. The snowflake crystal lay cool and ready against her palm. "What do you wish they'd remember?" Rowan asked from behind. "That they are allowed to want something," Sylvie said without hesitation. She held her crystal out toward the teenager's half-hidden face. Light from a nearby street lamp slid through it, splitting into gentle shards.
For an instant, the frozen surface of the phone picked up the reflection, a tiny, improbable constellation of colors scattered across a feed of black and white text. The teenager blinked, frowned a little, and instead of scrolling, opened the Notes app. Fingers hovered, then slowly began to type. The message was short, clumsy, not at all perfect. It was also the first honest sentence they had written to themselves in months. Inside the snowflake, another facet lit up. Sylvi stepped back, satisfied in the quiet way only she and the night would ever notice. "That will go on for a while," Rowan said, "those sentences." "Good," Sylvi replied. They wandered again, not in any hurry. The town, tucked into its own breathing, let them pass. On a corner where 4 streets met, they paused beneath an old clock mounted high on a pole. Its hands had stopped long ago, pointing to a time no one could quite remember the reason for. Rowan looked up at it with a sympathetic tilt of the head. "I like it," Sylvi said. "It means one very specific moment was so important the clock refused to move on. Or," Rowan countered gently, "it forgot it was allowed to." They both laughed, breath turning briefly into clouds. Then, on some shared impulse, each lifted their crystal toward the stubborn clock face. "Not to fix you," Sylvi murmured, "just to keep you company." "Exactly," Rowan agreed. For a heartbeat, the frost on the clock's glass shone faintly with 2 overlapping shapes, a snowflake and a heart. No one saw it from the sleeping houses, but somewhere a person who walked past this corner every day without looking up would, tomorrow, suddenly notice the stopped hands and think, "Maybe I'm allowed to pause too." They didn't know why the thought arrived. Winter did. "That will do," the wind said softly behind them.
Rowan's path was different. Where Sylvi reached for light, he walked into heaviness. He liked to say that hearts were not fragile glass, but quiet rooms that needed someone to knock. He started at the bus stop, where an older man in a thick coat stood staring down the street, counting minutes. The man's face was set in that familiar, tired way of someone who has done too many long days in a row. Rowan hopped up onto the bench beside him, though the man never saw. Snowflake fine frost dusted the angel's boots. He pressed the ice heart gently against the man's sleeve. Inside the crystal, something listened. There it was, a small, stubborn warmth. It carried the shape of a boy's laugh, an inside joke, a hand on a shoulder years ago. It was almost buried under layers of not now and later and it's fine, really, but it had not gone out. Rowan held still. The ice heart crystal absorbed the memory and mirrored it back, a tiny echo. For a moment, the man's chest loosened. He found himself remembering the taste of a particular soup and the way his brother used to steal the pieces of carrot. When the bus finally arrived, the man climbed aboard and, without quite knowing why, chose a seat next to someone instead of sitting alone. Small thing, but small things are doors. Rowan moved on. He stepped through the gaps under doorways, between apartment walls, across stairwells that smelled of dust and onion and laundry powder. At one door, he felt sharpness. 2 people arguing in low, tired voices about money, about schedules, about whose turn it was. Anger crackled like static. Rowan pressed the ice heart to the floorboards. It searched, patient. Beneath the sharpness lay fear,
of not being enough, of letting someone down, of the future shrinking. Beneath that, even deeper, something softer slept. The memory of the first time they'd shared an umbrella, the ridiculousness of it, the feeling of being on the same small side against the rain. Rowan didn't try to erase the argument. That isn't how his magic works. Instead, he let the old memory rise like steam and drift into the room between one sentence and the next. There was a pause. One person sighed, tired. The other, without planning to, reached for a hand. The problem didn't vanish, but a crack opened where kindness could climb back in. By the time Rowan had visited a dozen houses, the ice heart in his palm was glowing faintly, threaded with many shades of warmth. Grief softened by time, loyalty that refused to leave, a shy wish to begin again. Winters, he believed, weren't cold because of snow. They were cold when people forgot that their hearts could still move, even under layers of scarves and duty. Tonight, he was reminding them.
Every town has one house that the season struggles to touch. In this town, it sat at the end of a street, a little further from the others, as if it had taken a step back. Its curtains were half closed, no lights burned in the small garden, the snow on its roof lay untouched, no footprints on the path. Sylvi reached it first. Her breath puffed in small clouds as she climbed onto the windowsill. Through the glass, she saw a living room that looked carefully tidy, almost as if it had been cleaned for visitors who never arrived. A small tree stood in the corner, undecorated. On the table lay a box of ornaments, still closed. In an armchair by the window, a woman sat with her hands folded, staring at nothing. The air in the room felt thick, like water that hadn't moved in a long time. Rowan joined Sylvi quietly. He didn't need to ask, he felt the stillness too. "What happened here?" he whispered. The ice heart in his hand shivered. Inside it, the faintest echo of a child's laugh flickered, then faded again, like a memory pressed down hard. "Something ended," Sylvi said softly, "and they're afraid to begin anything else." For a long time, the two angels stood on the ledge, snow piling around their boots, thinking. They knew better to rush. Finally, Sylvi lifted her snowflake. "I'll work from the outside," she said, "you from the inside." Rowan nodded. "Together then." Sylvi touched the tip of one crystal point to the window pane. Slowly, tiny patterns of frost began to grow outward from that spot. But not the usual sharp, fern-like lines. These were softer, forming tiny shapes, a mitten, a star, a crooked heart, the outline of a child's drawing of a house. Each one held a fragment of warmth the woman had once shared. Bedtime stories, midnight cocoa, the time she had laughed so hard at a joke she'd dropped a spoon. Inside, Rowan slipped under the door. He moved cautiously, ice heart held close. Grief lives in houses like this, he knew, and grief is sacred ground. He passed family photos turned face down. He stepped around a pair of small boots left under a stool, as if someone couldn't bear to move them, but couldn't look at them either. In the corner of the living room, near the undecorated tree, he found the quietest place,
a small gap where love and pain were tangled so tightly that nothing moved. Rowan knelt and pressed the ice crystal to that spot. He didn't send warmth in, that would have been dishonest. Instead, he let the crystal listen with all its frozen clarity. Inside it, the beat he heard was raw and uneven. It carried words like never again, and if only, and I can't. It also carried something else, hidden so deep it hardly dared breathe. A wish to remember without breaking, to speak the name that had been kept behind the teeth. Rowan closed his eyes. Very gently, as if placing a candle inside a snow cave, he offered back just one small thing, the memory of a hand in a bigger hand walking home on a winter evening when everything had still felt possible. He didn't make it louder, he just let it sit there next to the pain, not instead of it. On the chair by the window, the woman shifted. Her fingers tightened, then loosened. Her eyes moved from the blank space on the wall to the undecorated tree. Outside, Sylvie's frost drawings climbed higher, catching the light from the street lamp. The shapes they formed were not perfect, a lopsided star, a slightly squashed snowman, but they were familiar. They looked like something a child would have drawn with their finger on cold glass. The woman blinked. For the first time in months, perhaps, she reached for the box of ornaments. The lid creaked. On top lay a paper garland, the paint faded, the handwriting on the back wobbly but determined. She pressed it to her chest. Her shoulders shook, but her breath finally went all the way in and all the way out. Later that night, she would hang just one ornament on the tree, not because she felt ready, but because not doing it suddenly hurt more. For Sylvie and Rowan, that was enough. The winter around the house deepened, not in darkness, but in honesty. Snowflakes falling in the garden seemed to land with more purpose, as if each one carried permission to grieve, to remember, to still be here. The angels stepped back from the window. "We should go," Sylvie whispered. "Will she be okay?" Rowan asked. "No one is simply okay after that," Sylvie replied, "but she's not alone with it anymore. That changes the shape of the cold." They turned toward the hill. Behind them, through the glass, a small light clicked on in the hallway.
The path back up to their ridge felt steeper, as it always did at the end of a night's work. Their boots were heavier with snow, their wings sprinkled with frost. But their hands were different. Sylvie's snowflake no longer looked perfectly clear. Tiny colors had settled in its angles, a streak of orange from the child's outdoor game, a blush of pink from the woman painting, a deep sea blue from the teenage boy's notebook. It carried in each of its 6 arms proof that beginnings could happen in the middle of a season. Rowan's heart crystal had changed too. Fine cracks ran through it now, hair thin, catching the light like silver threads. Inside, the beat was stronger, layered with echoes. A bus seat shared, an argument softened, a name spoken aloud in an empty room. They climbed onto their usual stone and sat shoulder to shoulder, the way they always did. Below them, the town slept. Its winter still wasn't perfect. There would be more gray days, more postponed joys,
More nights when people sat in the dark and didn't know what they were waiting for. But something had settled into place tonight, like snow finally deciding to stay. The unfinished winter had edges now. It had a shape. Sylvi held up her snowflake, Rowan held up his heart. For a moment, the crystals caught the same thin moonlight and flashed together, snow and heartbeat, cold and warmth. "That will do," the wind said softly behind them. The angels leaned back against each other, woolen wings overlapping. For a while, they simply watched the town breathe. A late tram slid along its track like a firefly on a string. Somewhere, a door opened, spilling a brief square of gold onto the snow, then closed again. The night was still imperfect, full of small worries and unfinished thoughts, but it no longer felt hollow, it felt lived in. Sylvi turned her snowflake slowly between her fingers. The colors trapped inside it shivered, rearranging themselves into new constellations. "These will melt by morning," she said, not sadly, just stating a fact. Rowan nodded, cradling the heart crystal. "That's all right," he answered. "What matters will stay where it landed." The wind curled around them like an extra scarf. "There will be other winters," it murmured. "New houses, new windows, new quiet rooms that forget they can open. When that happens, will you come back?" Sylvi's wings rustled in agreement. Rowan's boots knocked lightly against the stone. Neither of them needed words. The promise lay easily between them, as steady as the stars above. High overhead, the sky shifted from hard black to a softer blue, the color that belongs only to very late night or very early morning. The angels felt the change in their bones. They slid down from the ridge, leaving two light impressions in the snow that the first dog walker of the day would never quite be able to explain. And the hill, for a few heartbeats more, kept the echo of their quiet laughter. Here, away from that hill and that town, my hands are still working. A bit more color on the cheeks, another strand of messy hair glued into place, the soft curve of wings sewn to a small back. I tie the snowflake to one tiny wrist, the heart to another. On my desk, these two are just figures, clay and fabric and thread. But while I work, the story we just walked through tucks itself quietly into the seams.
I like to think that whoever they go to will feel a little of it. Maybe the girl with the snowflake will hang near a window where someone sits late at night, not sure what comes next. Maybe the boy with the heart will live on a shelf in a kitchen where people argue and make up and forget and remember over and over. They won't fix everything. That's not their job. They're too small for that. What they can do is stand there, side by side, constant companions in their warm scarves and slightly crooked boots, reminding whoever glances their way that winter is not only the season outside the window, it is also the quiet inside us, the part that needs both rest and company, both snow and lamps, both honest tears and stubborn warmth. Maybe while I was shaping their faces, you were busy with your own small winter things, folding laundry, sketching in a notebook, stirring a pot on the stove, or just lying still and letting the day catch up with you. If so, a little bit of this story has already wandered into your room, not loudly, not with fireworks, just as a quiet extra layer over whatever you were already doing. When the video ends and you go back to your evening, Sylvi and Rowan won't disappear. They'll stay here, on my desk, and also there, somewhere in the back of your mind. Two small figures in woolen boots who know how to stand in the in-between. If, on some other winter night, you suddenly remember that you're allowed to pause, or that it's okay to feel a lot at once, I'll be very happy to think they had a tiny part in that. Thank you for staying with me and with these two winter angels all the way to the end of their story. There are so many louder, faster things you could be watching right now, and it means a lot that you chose to spend this slow piece of time here, listening, while my hands build them layer by layer. If somewhere in the middle of this tale, you remembered your own unfinished winter, a project paused, a conversation postponed, a room in your heart you avoid opening, I hope Sylvi and Rowan stood quietly beside you for a moment. Maybe they nudged a curtain in your memory. Maybe they warmed a corner that had gone a bit cold. Maybe they simply kept you company, and that was enough. If you'd like to leave a small sign that you were here, a like, a comment, or even a subscription, it helps this little corner of stories stay alive and reach other people who might need a soft winter evening too. But there is no spell, no rule. You are welcome here just as you are, whether you speak or simply listen. I wish you gentle nights, kind beginnings in the middle of things, and a winter that feels deep enough to rest in, but bright enough to walk through. Until the next story.